You subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
Basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
It's time for Headliners. Myself, Jojo and Scott will bring you tomorrow's newspaper front pages. So many big stories, big opinions and some laughs along the way. But first up, the headlines with Olivia.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. Boris Johnson has told President Zelensky the UK is committed to stepping up military, economic and diplomatic support for Ukraine and will advance their interests at NATO and G7 meetings this week. It's after the Ukrainian leader compared the Russian invasion of his country with Nazi Germany's final solution to exterminate Jews. A warning: the video we're about to show you contains flashing images. Hundreds of anti-war protesters gathered outside Israel's Knesset as Volodymyr Zelensky's video address was broadcast to Parliament. He questioned the country's reluctance to sell its missile defence system to help Ukraine and asked why heavy sanctions haven't been imposed against Russia.
Israel knows well that the Iron Dome, your missile defence system, is the best. We know that you know how to protect your interests and that you can definitely help our people. The choice is yours to make, brothers and sisters, and you must then live with your answer. The Ukrainians had their choice 80 years ago. We saved Jews. Therefore, we have between us the righteous among the nations, the people of Israel. Now you also have a choice.
President Zelensky. Well, Russia's defence ministry says Ukraine has until the early hours of tomorrow morning to give its answer on surrendering Mariupol. It's after an art school where around 400 people were taking shelter was bombed in the besieged city. Ukraine's Deputy Prime Minister says over 7,000 people were evacuated from cities today, including almost 4,000 from Mariupol. Former head of the British Army General Sir Mike Jackson told GB News he can't rule out the possibility of World War III or the use of nuclear arms.
It seems to me the only way that we can bring this dreadful war to an end is for Putin to accept that his original aims are unachievable.
Boris Johnson is to host a round-table meeting about how to increase the UK's nuclear power output as he looks to wean Britain off dependence on Russian gas and oil. He'll meet leaders from the nuclear industry at Downing Street tomorrow. The Prime Minister is due to publish his energy security strategy later this month. Labour is going to force an emergency vote in Parliament tomorrow following the sacking of 800 P&O ferry workers. The party wants to outlaw so-called fire and rehire practices after the ferry operator dismissed its staff with immediate effect and replaced them with cheaper foreign agency workers. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to headliners.
I'm Mark Dolan. Welcome to Headliners, your nightly romp through the papers, where we bring you the highs and lows of Monday's news. Expect laughs and tears with the aristocracy of the comedy world. Joining us tonight, we have the flower of Scotland, Jojo Sutherland, and making America great again, Scott Capurro. How are we both? Listen, Jojo, first time we've properly met.
Properly met. Lovely to meet you finally.
Before the show, I said that I've been watching you, which sounded creepy.
Very stalkery. I did take a look at Scott and go, what's he got on his phone?
You're a very deep sleeper, aren't you?
yeah. I snore. It was weird that you knew that.
Listen, it's great to get you both. Comedians that are available on a Sunday night. It's a good night for comics, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're a little bit of availability and lots of stories to get through.
I'm only here professionally, not emotionally. Emotionally, I'm somewhere else.
Oh,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're both tonight my official paid friends.
Oh.
Well, let's crack on. So many stories to get through. Let's start with a look at tomorrow's front pages. And this is the Daily Mail. And they're going with the following. Rishi's set to cut tax on fuel, but Tories urge more action to ease the cost of living crisis. Chancellor Rishi Sunak is poised to cut fuel duty this week in a bid to stave off a cost of living crisis. The Daily Telegraph now, and the Duchess of Cambridge has her maracas out on a trip to Belize. Chancellor hints at fuel duty cut of 5 pence per litre, and Russians accused of mass abductions. Putin under fire for forcibly deporting thousands of Ukrainians deep inside Russia. What a chilling story. The Independent, Sunak rewrites budget as cost of living crisis grows. And Mariupol residents deported to Russia. That story covered by The Independent. A really distressing photograph of a man stopped and searched by armed pro-Russian separatists at a checkpoint in Mariupol. The Guardian next, thousands from Mariupol being forced into Russia. Zelensky likens Putin to Nazis in appeal for Israeli help. Financial Times, sheltering civilians bombed as fierce fighting grips Mariupol. The Times, Sunak plans cut in fuel duty. Once again, that story appears on the front page of the UK's newspaper of record. Also, Russia accused of genocide. Russia was accused of war crimes and genocide against Ukraine last night as fighting in the besieged city of Mariupol reached a new intensity. What a truly arresting photograph. Residents retrieve belongings from apartments in Kyiv. In Mariupol, an art school sheltering hundreds was hit, while in Luhansk it was claimed that 56 elderly people were killed in a tank attack on a care home. 56 elderly people. And now the Express, fuel duty cuts to ease cost of living crisis. Some rare good news in the papers. And should we go to the Sun now? Let's have a look at this headline. Don't be a fuel Rishi. MP cut duty by more than 5 pence. And last but not least, the Daily Star. Novelty Easter treats branded the devil's work. Very hot cross buns. A top cleric, the Queen's former chaplain, says stores are doing the devil's work by filling hot cross buns with chocolate, caramel and cheese. How right he is. They should only have ice-cold salted butter. But hey, it's all about opinions, isn't it? And those are your front pages. Vladimir Putin has been accused of abducting and deporting thousands of Ukrainian citizens, as you'll have just heard. This is a shocking revelation on the front page of the Telegraph, Jojo.
Yeah, and it's that thing, it's, you know, one side says one thing, one side says the other. So Ukrainian authorities have, you know, alleged that Russian forces have rounded up several thousand residents. Russian state media then says that they were actually a rescue mission from Mariupol and that they're being evacuated to safety in Russian cities. And of course, Liz Truss, who we can always rely on, is appalled by the Russian authorities.
Has she been in a tank recently?
No, but she's been on Twitter.
She loves a tank, doesn't she?
Yeah, she does love a tank and she loves Twitter. So yes, she was appalled by Russian atrocities, the Foreign Secretary wrote on Twitter. Is that you can?
Well, look, it's. I mean, the sort of, you know, the mood music around what's happening in Ukraine and in Russia is truly horrific, and it's quite clear that war crimes are playing out before our eyes.
Yeah, and that's very much, you know, saying chilling echoes of the Second World War.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Mariupol's meant to surrender by tomorrow morning, as far as the Russian government is concerned. They've been offered the chance to surrender. I think the Russian military is losing the fight, and so they're attacking civilians.
Yeah.
It's getting dirty, if it wasn't already. A British citizen is on hunger strike in Iran due to his unfair imprisonment. Sounds like a really tough story as well, Scott. Take us through that one in The Guardian.
Well, he's British and Iranian and has an American passport as well, Morad Tabaz. He's on a hunger strike after being kept in Iran when two others, Nazanin, as we know, and Anusha, were released. And Morad was kept in his apartment and then he was kept there for 24 hours with his family and then sent back to prison for the weekend. And the government said it was to tag him with an ankle bracelet, which sounds adorable, but I think it's more abusive than that. And although maybe he has, you know, unsightly ankles, maybe that made him nervous. But anyway, he was sent back home, and now they hope that he's going to be back to his home in Tehran. They hope he's going to be released permanently. The Iranian government has offered him a permanent furlough, which is a strange sounding thing, which I guess means they can track him wherever he goes. And I think he wants to come back to the UK.
Yeah.
But he's not sure he'll be allowed to. And his family's furious at the way he's being treated. They think that the UK government kind of threw him in as part of the deal to get the other two out. And they feel as though his position is untenable right now because he doesn't know what's going to happen. They say he's barely recognizable. When he came out of jail a few days ago, he had lost over 40 pounds, about, I guess, how many stone is that? 3 stone? And they said they only recognized him by his wave. His health is suffering, obviously. His mother's 93, and she's concerned she won't survive long enough to see him. The situation's horrible, and he just doesn't know what's going to happen. I think that's the worst part.
And it perhaps demonstrates that you can't do business with the likes of the Ukrainians.
No, absolutely. But
the Iranians, you mean?
Yeah, the Iranians, but the Iranians, because, you know, we've got a deal on the table for the release of these Westerners, and then they seem to be playing games around this man's freedom.
And that, I mean, for him, do you know what I mean? I mean, he thought he was coming back on a plane with Nazanin, so...
I think
you know,
that the Iranian government is also surprised at how the diplomacy seems to work in everyone's favor to calm the situation down, to get something done the UK government should have done a long time ago. They paid that bill, or so they said. And the Iranian government finally looks a bit diplomatic, so I think they want this to go away as well. And I think it sounds from the reports as though there might have been some miscommunication in his case, and that he sort of got lost in the shuffle, like the third child, the way I used to, the youngest.
You're right.
Middle child syndrome.
Oh, really? So you tell everybody what to do, you're very bossy.
Yeah.
And usually right.
Always right, darling.
Now, full disclosure, Scott Capurro has a tag, an ankle bracelet, but his is by Gucci.
Yes.
It cost a fortune, but let's be clear, he's worth every penny.
I'm a buy who wears Gucci. Thank you for pointing that out.
Who knew? A politician has been found to have connections with big business and could have lobbied in their interests. I mean, I can't believe this has happened.
What a surprise. What?
British politics?
Outrageous.
This is in The Guardian. Tell me it's not so, Jojo.
Oh, would just for once, could somebody not be corrupt and just be straightforward with their dealings? And he, sort of former Foreign Minister, Sir Alan Duncan.
A pretty senior Tory.
Pretty senior Tory. I mean, he'd warned of the risk of imposing too many sanctions on Russia and, you know, made it kind of highlight in an interview the risk to future UK gas supplies from sanctions and, you know, made a, you know, really sort of impassioned speech. But then failed to mention that it also threatened to bite into the revenues of some of the world's biggest energy traders, including Duncan's own employer, victuals. So you kind of go, wait, it's every time you look at anybody who seems to be in charge, whether it be Patrick Vallance and his £600,000 worth of shares in GlaxoSmithKline, or, you know, it all just reeks of corruption and dishonesty, disingenuous awfulness.
Something stinks and it's not a gas leak.
No.
Let's move on to our next story. Both of the Earth's polar ice caps have had record heat waves. This in the Telegraph.
Yes, apparently the Antarctica temperatures have been more than 30 degrees Celsius above normal in a historic event. Scientists have been left stunned, as they always say that they are, when the temperature went up. And they said it's the highest it's been since 1979. So yeah, we both noticed, well, it's happened before. We've been okay since then. But apparently it's too warm and it's a mess. And they said also that the temperatures are already, they should be sub-zero by now because the subarctic should be heading into their winter, but instead it's around 4.9 Celsius in March, which is just too high. Just too high. It's a bit of a heat wave happening, and the scientists don't know how to explain it, except to say that it's our fault.
Well, it's our fault, but also, like you say, it happened in 1979, so why are they not concerned, you know, historically looking back and
They
going,
probably
well,
were concerned then, but it didn't continue. Now they're seeing it as a trend. It's getting warmer and warmer regularly.
yes, and that is happening, but it, you know, it is that thing that you quite often see, was the worst winter on, you know, since 1936. You go, oh, so it was really bad then.
Or whenever there's heavy rain.
Yes,
Global warming.
So you're kind of going, well, it has happened.
Yeah, I mean, if we are to take this warning seriously, how do we actually tackle it? Because the issue you've got is that green policies are bound to cost money. They cost the state money and the public, whether it's a...
But they create jobs, which is nice. And also...
but eco-boilers, £20,000, electric car, 35k.
They need to produce more of them. They need to mass produce that stuff so that it's not so expensive. People need to be willing to purchase it more. I think the government should subsidize the purchase of it. I mean...
But what's the point?
Then they keep changing that. Do you know what I mean? I bought a diesel car 5 years ago because
you were told
I was told to, because that was, you know, doing the right thing and saving the planet.
Because the thing about diesel cars is they produce less CO2.
Yeah.
But what they didn't tell us is that what comes out of a diesel car is pretty nasty.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's that manipulation, being told one thing while something else is happening, and then revealing the truth.
So you still got the diesel?
I still do have the diesel. I haven't paid it off yet, Mark.
Leather upholstery, cruise control?
Cruise control.
Walnut dash?
Heated seats and heated steering wheel.
Oh,
heated steering wheel.
Come on.
Heated steering wheel.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, no, that
That's
is.
worth every cough of smoke that comes out of it. Seriously.
Yeah.
Listen, when you made money, you might as well flaunt it. Drinks are on Jojo.
It stinks of sour milk at the moment because I dropped a pint in the back seat.
That's her story that she's sticking to. Sour milk.
Sour milk's also my drag name, by the way.
On that controversial note, let's head over now to the Treasury and Rishi Sunak. The war in Ukraine is not comparable to Brexit. That's what Boris said, but he has been contradicted by his Chancellor. Is there trouble in paradise?
Oh, there's always trouble in paradise, isn't there? It's like somebody walks behind Boris Johnson with a mop and bucket, just kind of trying to clean up the mess. So, so Rishi said... Well, this is interesting, isn't it? Because he says he was clearly not making a comparison between Brexit and Ukraine, but then insisted that the Prime Minister didn't think that either. And it's like, well, either you think he did or he didn't. But yeah, the confusion. But I think it must be really, it's a full-time job, just kind of correcting the gaffes.
Well, definitely. I mean, we can take it at face value and we can take the view that Rishi Sunak thinks that was an inappropriate comparison.
Yeah.
You could also say it's politics. That this is a shot across the bows from Rishi Sunak, who hasn't given up his dream of becoming Prime Minister.
So everything that happens, you see playing out, is usually in the background going, well, I need to be seen to be saying this so that, you know, maybe in the future I'll just keep my options open and hedge my bets. And so there's so much of that.
But I think he's clearly being groomed by people to respond the way he does, because he has a very measured response on camera and to the media in everything he says.
And very thin ties.
He's very good looking. He's very appealing. He's very young, and he seems incredibly intelligent. And I think that he's giving Boris a run for his money, and I think he makes Boris nervous. And I think Boris, when he's nervous and he knows Rishi sitting there watching him, he starts to improvise the way a comedian does, trying to get the room on his side. And that's when he made those remarks, when he went off script. He always goes off script, and sometimes it works, but the jokes are getting old with Rishi as well. And the comparison, if you watch the clip, he's kind of going, you can see he's stumbling, and he's getting into a comparison that he probably thought about before, and he hadn't cleared in his mind or with anyone around him. And you can see that he's getting in trouble as he's doing it.
And we've all done that. We've all read the room wrong.
But we're not running the country.
Yeah.
And it is strange.
You're watching a comedian or a performer under pressure and going off script. And you think that's happened to Boris?
I think that's happened a few times before. I've seen him do it.
Peppa Pig. We had the Peppa Pig press conference as well.
And we had that press conference where he showed up late and it was outdoors, and one police officer behind him fainted, and he himself sounded, there was something wrong, like maybe he was drunk. I don't know if he was, allegedly. But anyway, when he does do this, I think when he was younger, it served him well when he had less of a position of power. But now that the world's falling apart and we're looking to someone to kind of put a secure
Well, people do like that. People like that sense, somebody that looks like they're in charge and knows what they're doing. And maybe with Rishi Sunak, I mean, that's quite a delicate balance.
He just appears more stable.
But that's a delicate balance to play, where you're supporting the Prime Minister whilst equally kind of,
He's playing it well, though. Yeah. I think he sees that Boris's play, his game is not working for him right now. He's just letting himself destruct.
But do you not think that this would have been a very astute and well-observed conversation 4 weeks ago, but a lot of people are saying, and it's a horrible expression, that Boris Johnson has had a good war so far. Do you not think that Ukraine has changed things for him?
I do. I think the people see how
But for the
response
better.
of NATO. No, I think the response of NATO and the UN. I think in a way, it makes the British feel more in a way more secure about his response, because you know who's responding. With the EU at this point, their response has been it's been cloudy, and his has been more specific. And I think the British public feels a bit more safe, not involved in the EU and the mess they're creating with the Ukraine, and the mess they created in 1992 with the Ukraine. That wasn't the British.
What happened in 1992?
When they forced the Ukraine to dissolve their nuclear armament. And if they hadn't done that, we wouldn't be in this position right now. And I think British people may know that, and I think they feel more secure with Boris, but I think his
But is that not because that seems more removed from immediate domestic policies, that it feels like he's got more of a handle on it because people don't necessarily really understand what involved?
I think the German leader was in a terrible position and he responded badly. I think Macron's meeting with the Russian leader was ridiculous.
Yeah.
A puppet show. I think Italy seems to be completely absent in all this. I think at least Boris is putting his foot in the.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Macron-Putin, the Macron-Putin meeting was that massive desk. I mean, they could barely see each other.
Does Macron refuse to be tested for COVID?
Was that what that was about?
Yes.
Was it?
Just
really?
get tested.
Who knew?
Oh, it just did look like
we all have to. I had to go to Uzbekistan, for God's sake. The least he could do.
All Macron needed was to have a little prick. Now, we've reached the end of part one.
I saw that coming.
So many good stories to get through with my brilliant colleagues tonight. So excited to have them on board. After the break, we'll be taking a deep dive into Monday's papers, further into the papers. Rishi and Bozza might be filing for divorce. History is being made in the USA, and I'll be speaking slang with my homies. We'll get a translation of that after this.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
I like this, John.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan, and we shall be marching our way through Monday's top stories. And I'm delighted to say we've got every paper covered, including the Daily Star. Joining me on our comical voyage is the fabulous Jojo Sutherland and the marvellous Scott Capurro. Another sad day for the United States as a shooting in Arkansas sees 1 dead and 20 wounded. This is in The Guardian, Scott.
They seem to happen every 5 minutes in the US, don't they?
Yeah.
There's another one. There's another one. And it was a car show they've been doing for quite a number of years, every year annually, obviously, for 16 years. So they've never had a problem, it was reported, until today. One person who's in custody came in and just started firing, and 24 were wounded, including children, outside of the car show outdoors as people were leaving in a town called Dumas, which is about 90 miles south of Little Rock, the capital of Arkansas. Quite a lovely area, actually. And the gunfire is outside a local business hosting the car show. And it's a spring event to bring in the first day of spring. A charming little thing, kids running around with flowers in their hair, and then with a bullet in their head. So it's so strange there, they can carry a gun, but there's only 3 places in abortion where in Arkansas, where women can get a legal abortion. 3 places. It's been whittled down over the last 30 years. And it's like, who's the law protecting? I don't get it now, Yeah. I mean, anyway, so it's disturbing. And, people make fun. If you live in America, Americans make fun who live in California of places like Arkansas. Oh, another shooting and the way they talk and who they support. But a president did come from there, more than one, I think. Mm-hmm. And I feel like these communities are very tight-knit, very close. That's what's always so strange about these shootings, that they probably know the person who did it. Yeah. And that's why he's there.
Is there any connection between this shooting and these sorts of shootings and a wider breakdown in law and order in America's great cities?
This was a very small town. I don't have a sense of a breakdown of law and order when I'm traveling in the U.S., in places like New York or L.A. or San Francisco. Probably the reason I'm in my car half the time. But also, those places feel safer to me. But as far as I know, the inner urban areas have suffered less than sort of the outer areas. And towns in smaller parts of the country are suffering real breakdowns because of drug addiction.
Opioid crisis.
Yeah, it's been really bad. It's pulled communities apart. Because, growing and selling weed was one thing. That didn't really disturb anybody. But this opioid crisis tends to...
Well, that's right, because that's what I mentioned about the collapse of America's great cities, or at least, increasing problems. We've seen footage, haven't we, on Twitter of, in San Francisco, these tent cities, Seattle, New York as well, Los Angeles...
the homeless
Venice, homeless. I was going to say the breakdown in society.
And people bent double outside supermarkets. Absolutely. Whatever, high on.
But the level of poverty and addiction, and it all seems to kind of
go
hand in hand. It just looks
like the third world. It doesn't look like the greatest country in the world.
But it also feels when you're walking or driving through, like in San Francisco, especially.
But it feels like desperation. Do you know what I mean? And I think that level of desperation, and then people do crazy.
But I have to say, I know what you mean. It's true, and it is worrying. But the homeless aren't really the problem in San Francisco. I don't feel they're not getting involved. In fact, they're trying to avoid the police and avoid breaking crime. Breaking the law.
It's a problem for residents, isn't it?
But the problem, I think, is Facebook owners. Why aren't they reinvesting money in the community? Why are these homeless people, why aren't they building housing for them? Where's the Facebook Opera House or the Google Theater? Or why aren't they distributing the wealth that they're ripping from the community. I mean, they house all their employees in housing that used to be affordable. That's why these people are homeless. They can't afford the housing they used to live in because of a Facebook assistant who makes $500,000 a year and thinks they deserve it at the age of 24.
So I take your point that you can't conflate sort of inequality challenges within the metropolitan areas and then one-off shootings. Clearly, this is therefore a separate and longer-term problem. What's happened in Arkansas?
I think it's true. I think it's insane walking around with a loaded gun and that being legal. I'm sure it's legal for this person to carry that gun.
Yeah.
No, he needs a credit card.
Do you think, I mean, have Americans just accepted, and it's the most awful thing to say, but that people are just going to die every so often?
It seems that
the
way.
world accepts it. I mean, we as comedians, we joke about the fact that, Americans gun crazy and all this kind of stuff. And yet, so we make jokes about it, but it's not funny. Do you know what I mean? It is that thing where we kind of accept that that's a way of life.
It's true. And it's funny when you're in it, you don't think about it. I mean, a female comic told me she won't let her son go to the U.S. He's a black kid, and she said, I won't let him go. And I was like, why can't he look after himself? No, she said, because the police will shoot him. And I live part of the time, and I had forgotten that, of course, that would be a concern. It's just, you're so accustomed to it. But it's very odd.
Is it even a debate, though, in America anymore about gun laws?
Well, there are gun laws.
There have been but about toughening them. I feel that it's a central part of the American Constitution, the right to bear arms. And that will never change.
The right for militias to bear arms. But yes, people think it is a central part of their lives. But it's so strange. My uncle retired as a police officer. And there's a horrible shooting recently of a young person. And I said, why did the police open fire on that kid? And he said, we couldn't tell how old he was from a distance. Yeah. Why so many bullets? He said, that's all we had. He said, we would have fired more if we had more. He said, we're outnumbered in the streets. We're outnumbered in terms of ammo. We know it. It's terrifying for us, and we're really frightened.
Have we got a similar problem here in the UK where we accept knife crime?
Well, I was just about to say, isn't it interesting in terms of the mentality of different crimes? I mean, crimes, resulting in death, whether it's by knife or by gun. But the fact that the UK, the idea of guns just isn't a thing. How have we managed to do that? And, how have we not fallen into having guns all over the place? And why can't we, if we've got that intolerance of guns, why can't we have that intolerance of knives?
I think people here prefer a menacing gaze on the tube to a gun, really.
Really?
Or they stare you down.
You're my favourite menacing gaze.
Well, Duncan was the real kind of thing, wasn't it, with handguns?
Yeah, that's true. Your uncle retired as a police officer. Did you inherit the uniform?
Just the tinted glasses.
That's all you need.
I have them on me.
Let's see if we can power through a few more stories before the break, because we've got so much to get through. The investigation into Madeleine McCann's tragic disappearance is officially to end. This in the Mirror, Jojo. What a moment.
Well, absolutely. I'm sorry to say, I thought it had ended. I didn't realise the investigation was still going on.
Yes, ongoing.
I know, ongoing.
You moved on like years ago.
Yeah. I think we'd all agreed that we weren't going to find her.
Yeah.
Although somebody is in custody for other crimes, but they're pretty sure that it is this guy that is
German
probably...
Yeah. And the German police force is going to continue the investigation. I think this has been handed over to them pretty much.
And he's in jail and unlikely to come out again, so I think that's probably some of the reasoning behind it.
Are we going to get our $12.5 million back, though? I want my $12.5 million.
Do you? Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
really?
There's a case to answer.
If they do find her, she's better work pretty hard to pay that back.
Too right.
Yeah.
Too right.
That's a lot of table
have more than a paper round.
A lot of summertime table service.
I think so. Well, look, history could be made in America, Scott. This in the Independent.
Oh, right. Well,
interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah, they finally, the first black woman has been nominated to the Supreme Court. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, 51 years old, and quite well known in the legal circuit in the U.S. She's been a federal judge for the past 9 years, and she's Harvard trained, and her resume is really pretty impressive. Very well qualified, or so the American Bar Association says, for the position she's been nominated for. And she's very popular amongst both sides of the aisle in the U.S. It looks like it's a shoo-in, but it won't be as fast and speedy as the conservatives usually do. They're going to take their time with this, although why they do, it doesn't make sense, because it won't change the conservative-liberal breakdown of the Supreme Court. She's taking the position of someone who was left-leaning, and so is she.
In that new role, we wish her well. Apparently, there's no such thing as correct language in it, Jojo.
In it, mate. I love
Your
this.
diction is perfect, by the way.
It's not too bad for someone who's Scottish, but
you've got I mean, what would you, in Scotland, you'd be like a really posh Scottish lady.
Yes, perhaps.
Very well spoken.
Well, because my mother drilled into me that butter had two T's.
Yeah.
So I think, and if I'm in Scotland, I'll be much more Glasgow, and I'll, if I'm doing the Glasgow stand, I'll be like, right, okay, so, I'll change my language to suit.
But you've got it in your locker.
Yeah.
To have the correct grammar.
Yes, so, I've got the different tools and I employ which ones are necessary for whatever conversation I'm having, really.
Well, isn't that how you want to equip school children? Because I think that the idea of accent snobbery is horrific.
Yeah.
Because I love our accents. What I love about our country is its diversity of accents. But I think that teaching kids that this is the official way that a sentence is structured, and then above and beyond that, knock yourself out. But here's how you're supposed to learn it.
I think you do have to learn it. It's like anything. You need to learn all the bits, and then before you can dismantle it. So
it's a bit like you learn the piano. You got to do your grades.
Well, it's like Tommy Cooper was a fantastic magician, but he had to be a fantastic magician in order to look like he was a rubbish magician.
Yeah.
So you kind of do have to have all the pieces of the jigsaw in order to know. So if you just don't know, and I think I do speak differently depending in which environment I'm in, and usually when I'm in London or down south, I'll talk slower and enunciate better. Well, because you will just go, don't understand you. I go, sorry, what did you say? So it works both ways. So yeah, I think But slang's great, and especially if you're with your mates, and it's kind of a bit like being in a gang, isn't it? If you've got certain colloquialisms or certain words.
But to not correct it in an English lesson.
I think it should be corrected. I think you should absolutely learn the correct form and then dismantle it how you wish.
So, for example, one of the words that they've complained about is having the word basically at the end of every sentence, basically.
Or the beginning, too, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, you're starting a sentence that way, they're corrected on it. Or the word ask being pronounced ax, like I'm going to ask you a question.
Well, but there's language that I'm still getting to grips with. So when something's sick, it's good. And in Glasgow, everything ends with but. Everything all right, but.
Yeah.
And then in Edinburgh, it ends with Ken.
Ken, that's right.
Do you know what I mean? So,
you
Ken. So, it's all right, Ken.
And to criticize people about it, you're saying they say is a form of linguicism, which is another ism.
Oh, another ism.
Yeah,
Lovely.
yeah.
Ken, where's our list of isms?
And I understand, if you're an instructor, you're frustrated by a kid's lack of an ability to form a sentence properly. You want to teach them how to do it, just so then they can toy and play with it as much as they want.
I would correct, if I was a teacher, but God forbid, by the way, I mean, I'd never get the license. The police checks would be my first problem. But I would always want to enhance these kids and their life opportunities, especially in a deprived area. And I would just say to these youngsters, I owe it to you. It's my duty to show you how it's supposed to be done, because I want you to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, my own children, I sometimes struggle to understand a word they say to me.
Is that a job for social services?
Yeah, probably.
There is a ceiling. There's a ceiling.
There's
a ceiling those kids will hit, isn't there, when they go to apply for a job? If they speak improperly, they will. It is likely that someone who speaks properly will get the job.
But we're never going to lose that. We're never going to lose that prejudice, and we're never going to lose that sense of being judgmental about how. Because we do that the minute we look at somebody, how they're dressed, how they talk, is something that we immediately make a judgment on other humans.
Well, I don't want to use the W word before we go to the break, but some people think that it is a bit politically correct or woke to not also mark exam papers that have grammatical mistakes, because that's considered prejudicial against people at the lower end of the economic ladder. There are colleges, universities that are actually seeking not to mark people down if the grammar's bad, because the view is it's not that important and it's not their fault.
It sounds racist to me.
But also, do you know what it sounds like? It genuinely sounds like you're giving them even more of a disadvantage. It's like, we're not going to tell you that in the future that not knowing the correct way to do this could potentially be a disadvantage.
In a way, not even giving them the tools.
Yeah.
They'll never
just go, no, there you go.
Ladder.
You've just got some of the language. You don't know the rest of it. But you don't don't need to know it, you silly
Because
little
of
thing.
who you are and where
Rude.
you live. Yeah.
Yeah, they deserve better, exactly. Let's aim high on behalf of all our youngsters, shall we? I won't aim high with our panel because I think that ship has passed. Let's manage expectations,
I thought I
shall we?
liked you.
It's going to be a frosty break. We've saved our best till last. We've got some amazing stories, haven't we, for the final section of the show. We'll be back in just one moment. We've got the Queen's Guard who went to fight in Ukraine, some very sad news from John Lewis, and why men who drink tea are more likely to cheat. Uh-oh, see you in two.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
Right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Considerably.
Loving hearing the brilliant comedic war stories of our stars tonight on Headliners, Jojo Sutherland and Scott Capurro, two of the very finest comedians working in this country.
At this pay scale.
They've been described, by the way, as the comedy equivalent of Sonny and Cher.
Well, there you go, see?
So which one's
which?
Who's had the plastic surgery?
Well,
would you have work done?
I had my nose. It wasn't meant to be repaired. I was merely meant to have my the middle bit kind of straightened because it was bent. I walked into a glass store at Harvey Nicks at a sale.
Look at you, name drop Harvey Nicks, isn't
accident.
it?
Going into a pair of denim. It's in Birmingham, though, so not so middle class.
You wouldn't have mentioned if it'd be little, would you?
And I broke my septum, so I meant to straighten my septum, but they ended up giving me a nose job. I didn't want one, but they gave me one. I didn't need one.
Oh.
But they turned my nose up a bit.
And there's me
Rather
thinking
nice.
you were a war veteran or a rugby player.
See?
I'd like to get
Turns
rid
out
of my
you're just
little
a
chicken
keen
there.
shopper.
Get rid of this chickeny stuff. I don't know.
Jojo, we would not change a thing.
They were Nicole Farhi denim, though.
Let me tell you, Sutherland, you cannot improve on perfection.
No, darling.
Now, the prestigious Navy Club in London have improved their clientele because they used to be home to well done. Luckily, this isn't live. They used to be home to delinquents and ne'er-do-wells, but Prince Andrew has now left, so it's a place of honour and camaraderie. Scott, this is in the Sun. What's happened to poor old Prince Andrew?
The Duke of York has disappeared from the books. He's no longer welcome after his landmark settlement with the rape accuser Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre? I always know. Giuffre.
Giuffre.
Yeah, okay.
Giuffre. You're getting close to using words that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
What about her, Giuffre?
Yeah, hello.
The club is known as the In and Out, and that's the nickname of it. Well, because of the engravings on the doors, you go in.
All right.
That's what they call that, and for other reasons. And wink, wink. Anyway, so he can no longer. He no longer has the honour of waking up there barely sober. So that's one more down for him. One more honour, one more thing that we don't have to pay for annually for him to belong to.
Do you think he left, or they threw him out?
Oh, no, they threw him out. They crossed
I mean, I love the fact that the Royal Navy have decided that they've started to have standards, but there you go.
A bit late in the day. What does this guy do for the next 2 or 3 decades of
He's
his
only
life?
62 years old.
I know.
And,
I mean,
and the Windsors have good genes. He'll be around for a long time.
I was genuinely thinking about that in terms of just obviously all the controversy and everything around him. But
What was that?
How
What
does
happened?
I can't say.
I'm on an island.
But how does he even go out of a day? I mean, I mean, he must be mortified, or he should be mortified. And I mean, his own family, I don't know, but I mean,
Maybe he moves to the US
where does he go? What does he do? How does he fill his
days? He lives with his
days?
nephew in the US, maybe, right? He hangs out in LA and goes on a lecture tour.
I suppose, actually...
Would America have him?
Do you know what?
Yeah.
I think, actually, he's probably got a good deal, because before he had to go and do boring old jobs with, boring old kind of...
Worth $10 million a year, but now he's probably got enough saved. He can go... Maybe he'll have a nice anonymous...
So he'll ski every winter. Yeah. He'll go somewhere sunny in the summer. And
and then he doesn't
ride a
have
horse.
to deal with the filthy unwashed.
Yeah. In case you're wondering,
he's
ride a
probably got
horse,
a really
by the
good-
way, that was a euphemism. Afghanistan, let down by the West and its people left at the mercy of the Taliban. But one man has popped up in Washington, D.C. This in The Guardian, Scott.
He's the Afghanistan's former finance minister, and he's now an Uber driver in D.C. He left a week before the fall of the Afghan government. He could see it was a problem. He could see that he'd lost the friendship he'd had with the leader, and he feared his safety. So he moved to the U.S., and now he's making about $150 a day on a good day. And he said it's a very difficult change. He used to be in charge of about a $6 billion budget the U.S. government offered, and now he's not.
Yeah, it's very sad, and in a way it has a parallel, doesn't it, with how the mighty have fallen in terms of the West and their botched departure from Afghanistan.
Absolutely, but then the mighty all fell. I had to drive a van delivering sandwiches during lockdown because I couldn't gig. So
is that right?
Yeah, that was my transferable skill. All I could do was drive. So, do you mean? Yeah.
Well, that's
I think
brilliant.
you have to adapt to your situation.
You do.
He's adapted
And
to his.
credit to him for that.
Yeah, and he probably feels lucky to be alive. I mean, as an
100%.
Uber driver, because the clientele are so big.
yeah. Get me back to Afghanistan.
It's the way that Uber drivers keep teasing you when they say searching for driver, and then it just never turns up.
All right, yeah, it is teasy, isn't it?
Yeah. Uber had a bad pandemic, didn't they?
Did they?
Yeah, well, what happened is...
Oh, yes, well,
the drivers weren't
anyway.
able to work, and now what happens is that they just haven't got the supply anymore because lots of people got out of that business. It was quite tragic because, I spoke to somebody on my old show who called up and he just spent 30 grand on a new taxi about 3 days before lockdown. And he's like, that's it, I'm going to do one more drive, and then what am I supposed to do with this car that I'm paying for slowly?
But that's also happening. Taxis are going to be a thing of the past because of electric cars, because of driverless cars. I see a future in probably 5 to 10 years where you'll just get a driverless car come and pick you up.
Yeah.
So...
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Beats Mrs. Dolan, I'll tell you. Volodymyr Zelensky has banned 11 political parties in the Ukrainian parliament. Is this an appropriate wartime measure or a worrying knee-jerk reaction, Jojo?
Well, it just seems that everybody just seems to want to ban everything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't like the look of that, let's not have that, let's stop anybody doing this. And again, it's, the political... Again, is it the opposition Platform for Life, which is Ukraine's biggest opposition party, led by Viktor Medvedchuk? Yeah,
nice.
We'll go with that.
Well done.
So a pro-Moscow oligarch with close ties to the Russian president.
Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, lovely. But everywhere you look, somebody's got a close tie to the Russian oligarchs and Putin. I don't know.
It's not great for Brand Zelensky, though, is it?
Well, it's not great for Brand
look.
Zelensky because he's the one that's trying to be all-inclusive and,
Saviour of the free world.
Yeah, saviour, and wanting to be more European and, and very much against what Putin's doing.
I think he's
and it's a very Putin move.
He's trying to stop now, though, the disbursement of incorrect news from the
How
war
do you
front.
do that, though?
By telling these 11 parties to stop, by shutting them down, because they're sending a lot of information back to their friends and family and the citizens of Russia. And they're saying there's no war, we're doing this, but we're not doing that. This is what's actually happening. And it's untrue. And he's trying to silence them for the time being, probably. I mean, Abraham Lincoln broke some laws during the war, too. Leaders have to kind of buckle down during war, so that's what he's doing.
And that has traditionally what's always happened in any kind of crisis.
Yeah.
And that the narrative has to be controlled so that you do manage the stories that are as truthful as they can be to the general population.
Churchill had his fingers on a lot of social media.
We didn't have Twitter or Facebook back in historical days, so it was easier to do.
But he controlled the media as much. And I mean, again, Lincoln sent a lot of his political opponents to jail during the Civil War. So, these people are desperate times, isn't it? So.
There you go, desperate indeed. A Queen's Guard who went AWOL to fight in Ukraine has been arrested. Is he going to be in trouble, Scott?
He's 19 and he's eager, he's adorable, and he's bored.
Why has he been arrested, though?
Well, because it's illegal to go and fight.
Like, he could be deserting.
War. Yes.
Oh,
he did desert, in a way. He left for a while. He's in contact with his...
Broke the rules.
With his bosses. They were talking, and they knew where he was. But he's saying, look, I'm going to go, I'm bored. I'm in the ceremonial position I don't enjoy. I'm 19. I want to save the world. And they're like, you can't save the world. Even though Liz Truss did encourage people at some point a few weeks ago to fight.
Everybody
so I think
off
that's
your
what he
pop.
heard. You hear what you want to hear, and he heard that. So
And it must be better than wearing a big...
Yeah.
Could this be the end of his military career?
I don't know. I think a lot of people see him as a hero, although I'm not sure the Ukrainians want him there, to be honest. They're not crazy about Europeans right now. No. I think they'd rather just fight the battle and they're not to look after some 19-year-old kid that doesn't know what he's doing, right?
No, that's
getting
an issue.
people's way.
How can we just persuade everyone to just put down all their weapons and go, I'm not playing?
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it?
Here's hoping. Now, this next story is not for the faint-hearted, guys. It's in the Mail, and I'm going to let Scott break this news to our audience.
Well, brace yourselves. Yeah, okay, I'm just saying, John Lewis has cleared the shelves of their Siberian goose-down pillows.
What are you going to do?
Will the misery never end?
How are you going to sleep tonight, Scott?
I know. Well, who knows if I'm lucky. But in reaction to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, I happen to own 2 of them, and they're delicious. And we got them in our wedding. And I'll never give them up. I don't care. If John Lewis can come to my home, they can try to pull them from I will not.
You have tight little fingers.
No. It's John Lewis trying to do their part. Of course, it's absurd. Just sell the pillows. It's fine.
Well, they've been made now.
Yes, and the person who made them needs the money for them.
I mean, we've seen bars pouring Smirnoff vodka down the drain.
Really?
Which is not made in Russia.
You could stop eating McDonald's. They sell McDonald's in Russia. I mean, you could stop doing that.
You've got to wonder, yeah.
But you don't want to stop people from their employment, do you?
No. By the way, what makes a good pillow? I'm a memory foam
Are you a memory
guy.
foam?
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I like it to sort of pop up when my head rests on it.
Do you have neck issues?
No.
You will now.
Yeah,
Can I be honest with you?
I
mean, I know you've never seen me naked, but I'm very well aligned.
How do you know?
Right.
I might have been watching you too, Mark.
And on that bombshell.
Goodness.
Mr. Bunga Bunga is back in the news. That's right. Congratulations to Silvio Berlusconi. The bad smell that won't go away. What slippery shenanigans is he up to this time, Jojo? In the Mail?
Well, he's had a festival of love. Oh, isn't that nice? Silvio Berlusconi has had a festival of love, which I think is a sort of a union gathering together with a woman who is 53 years his junior, but he likes them young, but not that. I mean, apparently he got rid of the last one because she was too old at the age of 34, so he's now got a 32-year-old, so that seems to be in his age bracket. Oh. But yes, there's sort of lots of photographs of them gazing lovingly and lots of celebrations. Interestingly, Berlusconi's 5 adult children, not so chuffed. So they were believed to be outraged, and that might possibly have something to do with his £5 billion fortune that they can kind of slightly see ebbing away into someone else's pocket. But you would have thought they'd have a prenup, wouldn't they? But seemingly undeterred by health woes, sex scandals and advanced age, Berlusconi proceeded with the ceremony alongside his girlfriend, which was styled as a festival of love rather than an official union. So she's not got any legal...
Is there any suggestion now that it isn't really a full-on marriage?
No, I think it isn't. I think it's
symbolic.
Yeah, symbolic. In which case, legally, she won't get a penny.
Didn't that happen to Jerry Hall and Mick Jagger? Didn't they have some sort of ceremony?
Oh, sort of tying of hands.
I think so. It was all on a beach somewhere in the Far East. And I think that then when they broke up, she didn't enjoy access to half his fortune, although I think they came to an arrangement. But I remember that being a story at the time. But
was there something about marrying in Vegas and it wasn't legal? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's been another story, hasn't it? So, do these age gap relationships work? Can they work?
I think they can, depending on if you have things in common, but it always tends to be money involved and what doesn't appear to be a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, what's she going to do with that old fart? Seriously. Following him around and cleaning up his mess after he sits in a chair and...
Who was the girl, Anna, who was the really, really old man that married the girl?
Oh, yes, Nicole Smith.
Thank you. And
she married this billionaire.
Billionaire.
Yeah.
She killed him.
No, I think he probably died.
Oh, right,
I mean, he was 133.
Oh, right.
He was like a real-life Mr. Burns from The Simpsons.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, you kind of look at that and go, really, no one's buying that you just adore this little old man. But then tragedy struck her and her son, and it all...
My husband's 14 years younger than me, and that does worry me.
Does it? My dad was 10 years older than my mum, but he didn't have any money, so...
Would you take an older partner, either of you?
Yeah.
Older than me?
Wow.
I'm almost 60. What am I going to do with...
I'm 50. Yeah, I'd like to go younger.
Yeah, of course. I was going to push my chair around later.
Age before beauty. Well, how about this? Age moves on to, of course, that is a very big factor and a big topic. But let's talk about tea now. The preserve of the adulterous, Scott, according to The Sun.
Well, it depends on the tea you drink if you're an unfaithful man, how unfaithful you are, apparently. Men who drink Yorkshire tea are the most likely British men to have an affair, a survey suggested.
There we go.
2,000 unfaithful men were asked to reveal their favourite brew. The largest number, 23%, chose Yorkshire. Twinings came in at 21 and Tetley's at 16. No herbal tea mentioned here, but I'm assuming men who drink herbal tea are...
I think drink herbal tea.
Without flaws.
You can't get it up, can you?
Oh my God, at this hour on a Sunday.
2,000 unfaithful fellas.
I know.
Who's admitting to that in the first place?
Proudly, I'm sure they
But
do.
I went and did a little bit of a Google research because I thought, oh, well, that's quite an interesting fact that it's Yorkshire tea. Who is the face of Yorkshire tea? Because they might want to now complain if they're the face of Yorkshire tea. Turns out it's Sean Bain, so they've absolutely nailed it with the guy.
Who is it? Sean who?
Sean Bean, sorry.
Sean Bean?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, the Northeast hunk.
Yes, serial adulterer.
Is he?
Yeah, he's been married 4 times, and yes.
So that was very good casting.
Yeah, so maybe Yorkshire tea already.
What about coffee? I like my tea loose leaf. What does that mean about me? What does it say? Yeah.
You're probably a swinger.
Yeah, I think so. I like to drop my keys in a bucket.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
What about coffee? Because is this a tea aspect? And I wonder whether coffee drinkers are more loyal.
Eager to please. Eager to get in there and just do the job. Fast to get it over with.
Coffee drinkers are so buzzing, aren't they, with caffeine?
I'm
they haven't got time for an affair.
genuinely struggling to connect how you drink tea with being unfaithful, though. I mean, in all reality, come on. Come on.
Well,
how ridiculous.
Is it because making tea is very quick? So you got time to like make the tea and also get your leg over all in one. Probably. I mean, I reckon I could do that in...
coffee was quicker to make than
2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're a catch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, when I have coffee, I like the plunge. So.
Oh, right. I see.
Yeah, I like to just.
Dropping my script. I like my coffee sweet and creamy, actually. I do, yeah.
It's coffee, folks. That's how I have my coffee.
Yeah.
I
like a bit of cake with my coffee, you know.
That's it. I like just, it's all about getting your beans out, isn't it?
Yes.
Wow, yeah.
I was going to say something else, but I'm not going about flicking beans, but hey.
I want my coffee as hot as possible. Hot. Better be hot.
To my amazing guests tonight, Scott and Jojo. Brilliant stuff. Headliners is back tomorrow at 11. I'm back on Friday at 9. See you then.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.